Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Andrea and today I have my Color Me Reading update and TBR for August and September respectively. This is a project that was created by Verity from Red Dirt and Stardust and Samantha, formerly Samantha Pans. I believe her name is now Makeup Mania and More, but I will have the correct name linked down below if that's not right. But they got their idea from Califab in her monochromatic year, which every month is a different color and you pan items that are represented by that color somehow. Well, Verity and Samantha decided to take that idea and make it into a reading, not game, but a reading project. And I love reading. I don't do it nearly enough. So I figured this would be a good way for, I'm very handsy today. That's what she said. So I figured that would be a good way to try to read more, and like my goal was kind of like 2 books a month. Some months have been better than others, but I have read at least 1 book a month, I think. So the color for August was silver, and I did read 1 silver related book, but I also finished one of my July books, which was red, and I do want to talk about that book because I had to read it, so now you have to hear about it. Well, I didn't have to read it, but you know what I mean. So the book that I've managed to finish that was left over from July was this, The Accursed, or The Accursed, however you choose to pronounce it, by Joyce Carol Oates. I think this is the first book I've read this year that I am going to give this book away. I'm going to put it in my little declutter / donate pile, and I'm kind of sad about it, but not really. I have feelings about this book. It's supposed to theoretically be like a gothic horror, and I guess it's definitely gothic in the sense that like not much happens. I feel like in gothic horror, like, I mean, it's not like Raven, what? It's not like a Stephen King novel where there's like blood and guts and ghosts everywhere. It's much more subtle than that. It's so subtle that until like the very last 2 chapters, I wasn't even sure if anything supernatural was going on or not. And I'm still not convinced that anything supernatural was going on. This book takes place in the town and like campus of Princeton University in New Jersey. It takes place between the years 1905 and 1906. It was just, nothing really happened. Like, the dust jacket says something dark and dangerous lurks at the edges of the town, corrupting and infecting its residents. Vampires and ghosts haunt the dreams of the innocent. A powerful curse besets the elite families of Princeton. My opinion after reading this book is that there is nothing supernatural that happens. Everything that happens to these people, they're using the supernatural to explain why such bad things are happening to good people. And when I say good people, I mean people who are rich and white. And there is a lot of racism and classism present among the characters in this book. And I just, like I said, until the very end when like a bunch of characters just randomly kind of come back to life, there's nothing that I think is so overtly supernatural that, I mean, I really don't know where to go with this book. Like, it's obviously I don't even know what the right word is. Like a referendum, maybe is, I don't even think that's the correct word, but it's obvious that the characters in this book, like Joyce Carol Oates is saying something about rich white people basically, but I don't think that calling this a supernatural or gothic horror is just, it's kind of like when Crimson Peak came out and all of the trailers for it were making it out to be like the straight up ghost horror movie, and that's not what that movie is. Like, that movie even says basically within the first 5 minutes, this is a love story with ghosts. No, this isn't, I wouldn't call this a love story. This is like maybe a class story, a race story. I wouldn't call it a love story. I definitely think the dust jacket is very misleading. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I did not like it. I obviously didn't hate it enough that I didn't finish it, but I am not interested in trying to read it again and like see if there's things that I missed now that I read the whole thing. And I think I mentioned this in my last update when I was talking about I had started it, but I obviously hadn't finished it yet. The narrator is like this old historian who is connected to this curse through his father. He writes like such a douchebag and I can't stand it. There's semicolons and italics and parentheticals everywhere, and he writes like he is up his own ass, and I don't like it. So this is the only Joyce Carol Oates book I've ever read so far. I'm not gonna like swear off of her forever because of this, because I was looking at reviews on Goodreads and a lot of them were saying like, this probably isn't the best first Joyce Carol Oates novel like to read. So of course I had to do things the difficult way, but a big thumbs down for this one. I am going to get rid of it. And then the other book that I read this month was The Long Walk by Richard Bachman, who is Stephen King's pseudonym. This book, I liked it. It was a pretty quick read. I mean, it's like 370 pages. Oops, thundering. Very appropriate for talking about this kind of book, I guess. And this is more, it's not horror and like supernatural, but it's like dystopian horror. It's obviously, this came out before the Hunger Games, but it is very similar to the Hunger Games, where you're like, it's the United States, but there's this new like kind of fascist government going on, and they don't explain it. They don't explain the reasonings behind it or anything. It's just every year there is the Long Walk, and 100 boys, I'll say boys because they're really not men. They're still effectively mostly teenagers, I think. There's a starting point and there's no ending point. The ending point is when there's only one person left. And the way that they get to one person is they have to, well, first off, I will say, this book, I don't know, maybe Stephen King is just like a really fast walker. Maybe I'm a really slow walker. I don't know. But one of the rules of the walk is you cannot drop below 4 miles an hour. Like, I don't know about anybody else, but anything above, like anything 4 miles an hour above, I'm like jogging. That's not a walk for me. So that was a little bit like, I guess they want to make the walk difficult for the walkers, but that part, I don't know. That was just one part that I was just like, 4 miles an hour, like, come on. So anyway, me and my badly out of shape self aside, you cannot drop below 4 miles per hour. If you drop, you get 3 warnings, and after the 3rd warning, I bet you can guess what happens. So it tells the story, or the story is told from the point of view of one of the walkers, obviously, and like the group, like most of the walkers find like these little cliques that they kind of walk with, but at the same time, you don't really want to make too many friends because you want to win, and in order for you to win, everyone else has to die. And I did like the ending. I won't like really spoil it, but I'll just say, and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but there's really no winners for something like this. But it was a quick read. I mean, it was pretty interesting. I mean, for a dystopian kind of horror novel, and like I said, very reminiscent of the Hunger Games, but of course this came out much earlier than the Hunger Games, but I also really like the Hunger Games, so I figured I would like this because I kind of knew what it was going into it. But yeah, if you like the Hunger Games, I think you would probably enjoy this. So those were the 2 books that I read. I started Once in a Great City by David Moranis, but I'm only like 3 chapters in, so I will do the same with this. If when I finish it, I will kind of give my thoughts on it, but I am nowhere near finishing it yet, and I need to get going on some of these other books too. So for September, like, I don't have my list, but just, I'm assuming, going by the stack of books, I'm assuming September's color is brown. If it's not brown, it's brown adjacent. So I have 5 books. I'm like, who am I kidding? But come on. So the first one is The Bondwoman's Narrative, a novel. I'm not sure if this is, oh, hey, well, I found this at a book sale, and now I won't show it to you because it's got personal information on it, but I found someone's old script in here, so that's cool. Hope they didn't need that. It says, well, first of all, it says it's a novel, which leads me to believe it's fiction. But on the back, it says that it's an actual manuscript written by a Black female slave. And it's possibly the first novel written by a Black woman anywhere. So I'm not sure if it's called a novel because the enslaved woman wrote it as a novel, or if it's a novel, they call it a novel because this is really a work of fiction of some white guy finding a Black woman's unfinished, unpublished manuscript. I don't know. I will have to read it to find out, but that's the first book that's on my pile. The next one is very appropriate for the season. This is The Physic Book of Deliverance Dane by Catherine Howe, and it's a novel about a graduate student from Harvard who goes to her grandmother's abandoned home near Salem, and all kinds of witchy things start happening and things like that. So that could be interesting. This one is called The Secret of Lost Things by Sheridan Hay. Obviously I got it at a used book sale because there's a little tag there. It's about a missing manuscript, a young woman's voyage of discovery, and the curious bookshop where it all begins. So, I mean, I guess it's one of those, like, coming of age, weird, what do I want to say? It's really dark outside. I guess it's one of those, like, finding your place in the world type of books about a bookstore. The next, and I don't know if I lost the dust cover or my son did something to it, but the next lost its dust jacket. But this is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. I have a ton, not a ton, but I have quite a few Margaret Atwood books that I just haven't read, so I want to start reading some, because I have read The Handmaid's Tale. I've read another one that I don't remember, and like one of my college courses we read a book of her short stories, which I really enjoyed, so I need to start reading more of her stuff. And then the last book in my little pile is called Ghost Walk by Rebecca Stott, and this is like not even a historical, it's like a mystery book, I guess, about a Cambridge historian who was writing about Isaac Newton, and she is found drowned clutching a glass prism in her hand, and then her son asks his former lover to ghostwrite the rest of her book, and then she moves into his mother's house and things start happening. So I don't know, I did put these books together a while ago. I'm not super sure I'm like really excited about any of them, but at the same time, a lot of times I find when I have books that maybe I don't think, like, I'm just not in the mood for them, but like once I start reading them, I really enjoy them. So it's part of my problem is just starting a book, because it's very rare that I don't like a book. And I mean, like I didn't like the Joyce Carol Oates book, but a lot of it was I didn't like it because it was not what I thought it was going to be, and I didn't not like it enough to stop reading it. Like, it wasn't bad enough for me to not finish. So I just need to actually start reading some books, and I think once I start reading some of these, especially more of the mystery ones, because it's like that time of year and I do want to read more like horror books and stuff like that. Hopefully I will have a few more a few more little reviews, not even reviews, but a few more books read next time to give you my thoughts on. And once again, if you have any good books that you've read lately, let me know, because I'm trying to read more and I'm always adding to my list. I hope you are staying safe and sane and healthy and having a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next one.